Hello and welcome into this edition of the Sun Devil Sources 2-Minute Drill. I'm Sammy Miller alongside Chris Cartman, and today marks ASU football's first day of spring football. There were a lot of new faces out there with coaches and players. Chris, what were your initial takeaways from today?
So with ASU losing 13 starters and over 20 of their players from last season, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to get used to in the coming weeks, right? Especially at some of these key positions, 2 of their better offensive linemen, 3 offensive linemen overall, starting nose tackle, defensive end, both of whom are all conference caliber players, all 4 of their players in the secondary. And so this adjustment phase, I think, is one where ASU is kind of going to ramp up those guys. And what we noticed today was most of them were not participating in the first team. They had guys who were probably not as talented, but are a lot more experienced and understanding what they're trying to do as far as practicing at this level, who are getting a lot of those reps. So all of these kind of younger guys that maybe have already been at ASU are practicing over some of the veteran guys for the most part that ASU has introduced. But I think over time that will definitely change.
And what do you think the biggest storylines are going to be that we are going to need to follow in the upcoming weeks?
Quarterback, right? Everyone's going to want to know who's going to play quarterback after Jaden Daniels' departure to LSU. Trenton Bourguet seems the most likely of their returning options, and then Paul Jones is an Alabama transfer. Big guy, big arm, still have to kind of figure out what he's comfortable with, and the advantage that he might have, and even the other quarterbacks, is that the scheme is going to be somewhat new. When you have a different coordinator coming in versus the one that's inherited, that's like a reset button, I think, in a lot of respects. And then how are they going to protect whoever their quarterback is? They have 2 transfers from the offensive line, Chris Martinez from San Diego State, and then one from Penn State as well. Des Holmes looks like he might be able to play right tackle, I think. Xavion Valladay is a running back who will be heavily relied upon to replace Rashad White. Of course, Diamante Traynham left. They don't have as much turnover with their receivers among the top group, but at tight end they added two transfers. The defense is going to look quite a bit different in some key areas, but they do have returning, of course, 2 of their starting linebackers, several of their better defensive linemen. The secondary is going to take a lot of getting used to. So I would say secondary, quarterback play, and then what's going to happen with their protection and their run blocking up front.
And ASU head coach Herm Edwards talked to the media after practice. So what were the most important things that he took note of?
Yeah, I think he mentioned basically a lot of this infusion of players from the transfer portal and how college football has really changed quite significantly in the last couple of years as a result of that. It comes at probably a pretty good time for them in light of the NCAA investigation that they're under and the challenges that have resulted from that in terms of high school and junior college recruiting in particular. So they do have a lot of guys. I don't know if they're going to be as good as some of the guys who left, who were multi-year starters, the Chase Lucases and Jack Jones and DeAndre Pierces of the world, Darian Butler, et cetera. But that absolutely is what he wants to sort of highlight as an emphasis that they're really focused on. And then I thought it was interesting that he said that they didn't do a lot of self-scouting coming off of last season, despite being the most penalized Power 5 team in the country. You would think that they would maybe be trying to take an inspection of what things that they could do to implement from a practice standpoint that could be different, that they had learned from some of those issues last year. But that was not the case. And then also he hinted that the team would be a lot of huddling this year, which we have not seen really in recent years. More pro style probably, more drop back passes, play actions, things of that nature that could potentially benefit someone like Paul Tyson over a Trenton Bourguet. And we'll see how that is handled by a lot of the personnel around the offense.
Well, that's it for us on this edition of the Sun Devil Source 2-Minute Drill. For Chris Cartman, I'm Sammy Miller. Make sure to continue to follow along for a lot more coverage.